to do this audio really in response to something that Joanne said, which is our contributions help ourselves. And, we really do talk about the things that we need to hear the most. So that's what I'm going to do. Instead of focusing on any particular chapter, I'm thinking more in terms of an overview and kind of what brought me to the place I am now with the course, which I call, for shorthand, everything has to go. So I was thinking about the quality of mercy in relation to ACIM levels. So the ACIM is written on multiple levels. That's why one person can read it and get out of it something entirely different than another person, not because they're getting the message wrong or they're even getting the message different. They're just being met at the level where they are. So each student is met where they choose to see themselves. And where you choose to see yourself is not experienced as a choice, of course. If I see myself as a body in a world, I don't feel like I chose to do that. That's just what my experience revealed to me. It seems to be a simple acknowledgement of reality when you say, where are you? I'm a body in a world. I am at home in God. So every level can appear to be supported by A Course in Miracles. It's written in such a way that it can appear that a student is maintaining fidelity to the course at the lowest level or at the highest level. And both are true. So you are maintaining fidelity to the course if you practice forgiveness. Forgiveness itself has levels, which are defined in the Song of Prayer, Forgiveness, Healing. So it truly doesn't matter where you think you are or how you practice forgiveness. As the course makes the statement, all miracles are optimal. Eventually, when it becomes apparent that whatever level I'm at is not bringing me peace or cannot bring me peace, then I'm gently ushered up the ladder to the next level. So this can really seem to occur 100 times a day, or it can occur periodically. It can seem to occur for long stretches of time, and then you can find yourself thrown back, So it's a moving kind of process. The levels of forgiveness kind of mirror the development of trust in the manual for teachers. So there's a lot of different aspects to the course that introduce that idea of steps and levels. You have the Song of Prayer, you have the development of trust, which talks about the 6 stages of development. And that echoes the chapter on self-concept versus self and how that changes as you move along. Your own self-concept is altered as you study the course. The important thing to remember is that all levels are illusory because they involve form. So any level involving form at all, which means you are still perceived to be in a body, it's all illusory. That's why it's very frustrating for me to hear course teachers / students speak in a hierarchical way within the Facebook groups. It's really jarring because the preeminent scholar of the course, Ken Wapnick, never spoke like that. And if he didn't, then certainly no one else should be doing it. But there is a level of judgment in me that reveals. And that's what I need to look at. Nothing in this world needs to change but me. I'm the one who needs to change. And I don't change my circumstances. I don't change my appearance. I change nothing but my mind. My mind is where the problem is. The problem's not outside of me. The problem is inside of me. So getting back to that idea that all levels are illusory because they involve form, that form is also referred to periodically as a puppet, a dream figure, a screen image, or a shadow. They all kind of mean the same thing. If there's form at all, then it's not something that's real. All of that persists until God takes the final step. So the goal is to go as far as you can with the course until God takes that final step. The experience of the journey of the course is that things seem to get better as you go along in your process and practice. But that has nothing to do with form. It has nothing to do with the dream or how the dream figures are set up, those chess pieces on the board. That is in your experience of that. So I want to try to attempt to describe levels in terms of the idea of mercy. I did think about focusing on justice, which is another prominent idea in the course, true justice. But I kind of, that would be logical because I'm an attorney by trade. So the reason why I didn't is there's a line in the course that I took a cue from, and that is this: justice is a temporary expedient or an attempt to teach you the meaning of mercy. So I do think of the levels as levels of mercy that we offer ourselves. Jesus said when speaking about the universe, be kind to it and to yourself, and then be kind to me. I ask but this, that you be comforted and live no more in terror and in pain. Do not abandon love. Which really begs the question, how are we to be kind? How are we to know what kindness is or what it means? What level of mercy are we willing to offer? Kindness is one of those things that we think we understand intuitively, but when you really apply it to situations, it's difficult to have any level of certainty because we don't really know what each other needs. I only know what I need. Sometimes I know what somebody else needs, and I either can or I cannot meet that need. Does that make me unkind? So I think kindness as an idea has to be separated from, it can only exist at the level of thought. What I offer in my mind to everyone around me and to myself is the thought of truth, a thought of something beyond illusions. Because here, kindness is unpredictable. And it really, if it looks like something in the world, then it's limited to the point of being useless. So before any of us found the course, we were seekers. So we become seekers, we feel disillusioned by the world, what it seems to offer us, and then we become finders when we find the Course in Miracles. So before that, we might witness victimization or trauma, or just be unhappy with the path that's in front of us or behind us. So seekers find their way to the Course, and at some point when you're reading it, it dawns on you, okay, this is my way. My way has been decided, and I'm accepting of that. Generally speaking, when that first happens, we're at the bottom rung of the ladder. We want to feel better and we hope for the better dream. Our mercy to ourselves is limited to trying to see ourselves as kind of a good person, which would translate to good ego. And, during that period of time, we sometimes feel charitable towards others if we believe they deserve it. We generally understand forgiveness to mean condemnation first and then forgiveness. What we perceive, and that's really applies to ourselves and to others. We either condemn ourselves or we condemn somebody else, and then we say, but now I will give you this thing that you need, this forgiveness, after I condemned you. So, and that really tracks the Song of Prayer, that whole idea. We could even believe some things are beyond forgiveness. So we approach the Course with the hope it will make our lives better. We're told very early on in the 50 Miracle Principles, there's no hierarchy of illusions, but we persistently hold on to a hierarchy nonetheless. We ignore the parts of the Course that we're not ready for, and generally we still believe my brother exists outside of me, is separate from me. And then as we move along in the practice, as we open our eyes, we begin to understand that choosing to take the hand of Jesus means choosing against the ego. We're learning all the while what the ego is and what it offers us and why it's there. All of its tricks and smoke and mirrors, promising, there's some hope of happiness in the world. Just reach outside yourself, just find that person, find that job, find that family, find what it is that will make you complete and bring something to your little self that feels lost and scared. We still work to achieve the better dream, but we're kind of onto ourselves. We're learning that there is no better dream. There can't be a better dream because everything leads to the same place here. So we're really, and we're also being told in the course that how logical it does seem. Well, if we're all going to die anyway, then I need to just grab at what's going to make me happy. What's wrong with trying to comfort myself with these things outside of me? And people can spend their whole lives doing that. And there's no judgment. The course doesn't judge any stage where anybody is. It just means that that is acceptable, and if it's not acceptable, then you'd move on. But holding on to the idea of a better dream is not merciful to ourselves. If we want to reach the place the course is leading us. So as we move along, eventually we come to understand through studying the text, through doing the workbook, studying the manual for teachers and the supplements, we understand that this is some course. This course is not about this world. Course describes the world and also describes another world. As the course says, we are at home in God, dreaming of exile. So we can talk about things that are outside of time, outside of space, while we're here living this dream. And we can use the ideas of the workbook to unlock or awaken that sleeping part of us that thinks this is all there is, and we don't have access to anything else. So access to that can be unlocked through the practice of this path or any path, if the person studying it wants it to be. So everything is revealed to us about ourselves. You can learn in 1997 that there is no world and that nothing outside of you is the cause of any of your pain on any level. Any pain you ever experience is totally unrelated to the image, the dream, the movie. You are not the shadow. And all these years later, can still be struggling to accept that idea. What does get easier is the forgiveness. I think sometimes it does seem easier to overlook what other people seem to be doing around you than it can be to overlook what you witness in the first person in your own body, what your own body's doing. Because we so much of the time are trained to be very critical of ourselves. But the thing that I want to say about kind of that level where you have fully understood and accepted that nothing you think you perceive is really there at all. They are not there. You are not there. You have gone into a deep sleep, which the Course describes as hell, the opposite of heaven. So when you really study that and you get into that and you're like, I believe that must be true, regardless of the fact that I experience myself as a body in a world doing all the things the body needs to do, I believe that the Course in Miracles is true. I won't get into experience to remove all doubt, but I do want to focus on one thing when we're talking about something that is outside of our realm of awareness. Okay. Sometimes I don't start these because I think I can't gather my thoughts quick enough. So I'm just going to give myself a little bit of time to do an internal review. Okay, so we understand intellectually, and he specifically says intellectual understanding is not enough. Our understanding is not a great contribution to truth. Our understanding ultimately is nothing. But in terms of our path, we have the text for the intellectual understanding, and we have the workbook for the practice. And they kind of work together that way. We can have that intellectual understanding for decades and decades and never make progress, never seem to make progress, although that's not really something anyone should be evaluating for themselves or anyone else. So We practice forgiveness. That is the daily, moment to moment, instant to instant, minute to minute practice of the course. Forgiveness. Whatever is happening that seems to be happening, I take Jesus's hand and I watch it unfold. I can watch myself become upset. I can watch myself do things that are self-destructive. I can watch myself do wonderful things and win awards. Whatever you're watching, forgiveness stays the same. It looks, waits, and quietly judges not. It is a dream of judgment, so we must judge not, and you will awaken. That is a line that's gone through my mind a million times. It is a dream of judgment, and so we must judge not, and you will awaken. It is not possible to live in this dream world and even seem to not judge. Every moment of our lives, everything we witness, everything that hits us, everything is a judgment. It's really why we're here. It's a dream of judgment, so you must judge not and you will awaken. Well, you can't judge not in a body. You have to recognize that the only way to withhold judgment is to internally, at the level of the mind, be watching the ego play out its drama. You watch it without judgment. You watch yourself judging, essentially, because everything that you seem to say, everything that you seem to do, everything that the ego seems to think involves judgment. So we can't escape judgment. We can't become a better ego. The goal of the course is not to be a better person living in a world. It's to step back with Jesus and watch it. So for a long, long time, it can seem that some of our judgments we put to the left and some of our judgments we put to the right. And the ones that we put to the right, we've decided are the ones we get to hold on to. Well, I can say this, I can believe this. It's okay for me to believe this, and I don't have to forgive it and overlook it and think that it's nothing. So we hold on to those judgments that we think are something. And then as you go along and you wonder, oh my God, I've devoted my entire life to A Course in Miracles and I'm not in the real world yet. And I've never met anybody who is. So you think, what is it about a certain level, a certain stage where you have solidified your intellectual understanding, solidified your practice, you've done everything that was asked of you? Well, there's a piece of you that is not looking at those judgments that you put to the right of you. What is it that I have left undone? What have I decided is not going to be something I overlook? What have I not brought to Jesus to look at with me so that I could see it for the nothingness that it is? Okay, this is the whole reason I wanted to do this. The idea that just came into my mind. Okay, this is so important. Our judgments about ourselves and about other people have nothing to do with specifics. That is a very bitter pill. And I think that, as we go through a couple of stages, once we get the full intellectual understanding, then this becomes easier to understand. Okay. The reason I am holding on to my judgments is not because, well, I'm so angry at what that person did, or I'm so angry about what I did, or I'm so mad I didn't get the things I wanted, or that someone else got something they wanted. It is not tied to specifics, because at some point we become so threatened by A Course in Miracles, we cling to our judgments, not for what they are, but because they save us from what we think is oblivion. What do we know about the oneness the Course speaks about? We only know about our horrible world where horrible things seem to happen and we're angry and upset with periodic happiness thrown in. So we cling to that. We're not clinging to our judgments. We're clinging to what our judgments allow us to do, which is remain asleep in the dream, unaware of reality, unaware of what we are, unaware of what everything else around us is. So that, I guess, is the prime issue that I need to look at, and that's why I want to talk about it. It's, it's not that, um, you know, I'm so upset that I'm not prettier. And so I can't let that go. I just can't look on that with Jesus and think it's nothing, that I don't think that I'm pretty enough. I couldn't care less whether or not I'm pretty. My ego only cares about proving that I'm a body in a world and that world is real. And that its whole thought system of sin, guilt, and fear is real. It does not want me to wake up. And when I adapt the thought system, I am that thought system. I don't want to wake up. If I wanted to wake up, I would. If I wanted to learn a simple course in the obvious, I would, but I haven't. So that resistance is something that my teacher, Ken, spoke a lot about. He always thought there should be a real, not just understanding, appreciation for the level of resistance and a kindness and gentleness in the face of it. Because Jesus isn't sitting over there getting angry. You're so resistant, I'm furious with you. Jesus waits patiently for us to change our minds. That's it. And that's what we need to do for ourselves in the face of my own resistance. I wait patiently. I don't get angry. I don't get upset. Say, oh, that's resistance. And our job is not to do battle with ourselves. And I'll tell you, in the early years, I literally heard screaming in my head in response to the course. I literally heard screaming. I lived walking around the world, doing my job and engaging with other people, and going to the foundation with a scream going on in my head. And my teacher had told me, when you start to threaten the foundations of the ego thought system, when you're really willing to look upon the darkest cornerstones of that thought system, your ego can get vicious. And I'm really glad he said that, because when it was happening, I was thinking, oh yeah, my teacher told me this was going to happen. It was brutal. There was definitely, the world was a distraction from what was really going on inside of me, because what was going on inside of me was just a slaughterhouse war against myself, and it was inescapable. But I did trust, I had enough trust at that point that I would safely emerge on the other side. So the funny thing is, now it's very quiet. It's very nice just to close my eyes and experience the quiet. That, in the world's terms, may or may not mean anything, because I still go through all the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. I still get upset. I still feel physical pain. I still need all kinds of help in the world. So I think the quietness is a result of practicing forgiveness, which changed nothing in my world. So, on the one hand, you can say, there you become more peaceful internally. Nothing changes in the outside world, or if it might change, it might not. It doesn't matter, because even if something changes in the outside world, it's going to change again. There's no constant. There's only a constant. Non-duality offers a constant state of bliss, joy, truth, love. Duality can only offer a shifting, changing world and shifting, changing states. There's no such thing as 100% peace in this world. There's acceptance of terrible things. That's the alternative here. So, yeah, I realize that I'm still clinging to my judgments. If I wasn't clinging to my judgments, I wouldn't be here anymore. So the reason I'm clinging to my judgments is not for what they are. I don't really think so-and-so is a terrible, evil person and what they did is so bad. I'm clinging to my judgments for the sole purpose of maintaining the belief I'm a body. That is the purpose of all judgments. Without judgments, that is the ego's bread and butter. Without our judgments, there would be no world. And so all of us, I don't care who you are, where you are, what you're doing, are clinging to a judgment because we all seem to be here. There's no, there, saying there's no hierarchy of illusion says it all. It just says it all. No matter what anyone thinks, says, or does, there's no hierarchy of illusions. We are all in exactly the same place all the time. So everything has to go. Everything has to go. Concepts, ideas, thoughts, beliefs, values, everything has to be understood for the nothingness that it is. We can't cling to any of those things and go where Jesus is leading us. That's not to say we can't carve out happiness. You can't, you know, it's not, it sounds bleaker than it is because the Course establishes there is heaven and hell, and of these you choose one. You cannot bring a little bit of heaven to the illusion. The truth and the illusion have no meeting point. You either experience and accept the truth, or it's an illusory hell. That is the scope of choice. But in our experience here in the world, clearly there seem to be levels of illusions. There definitely seems to be a hierarchy of illusions, only from the perspective of the ultimate truth, level one. Now I'm talking about levels again, and that's going to become confusing. Everything is somehow steps and levels, but level one is the ultimate truth. Level two is the dream. So if we can understand that all concepts, ideas, thoughts, and beliefs and values are symbols only, then we can see they have no reality. Because at best, a symbol can only symbolize reality. They can never be what they represent. Symbols are depictions designed to stand for something other than what they are. So they're nothing until we decide they mean something. Individual bodies with a name and a history, walking the earth, deciding what everything means. That's what we seem to be. But our bodies themselves become symbols. They're definitely symbols to each other. I can symbolize love, or I can symbolize hate. I can symbolize anything to somebody else outside of me. So when we say everything has to go, everything, I'm talking about all of the world of everything in the world of form is a symbol, can only have symbolic value, including bodies. So transcending that would involve recognizing that that's the only way it can be. Only a direct experience is something valuable to us. But we have deceived ourselves into believing symbols are valuable to us. So I want love. Well, I'm going to decide that that new car will mean love to me, and I'll chase after that car. Because I've deluded myself into believing I can get an idea or a thought and shove it into this car. More often than not, it would be I'm looking for a relationship. I want somebody to love me, not a car. But I think you know what I mean. Everything's a symbol here. We decide what it means, and then we try to get the things that we've decided it means. We could just as easily decide it means nothing. I think it gets more difficult to think when you think about pain and bodies acting on each other, when you consider your experience has nothing to do with that. So that is something that I really would only ever discuss with other course students, that all pain comes from denial of truth, no matter what it seems. Literally right now, it feels like my arm hurts and my back hurts, and I feel very sick. quite honestly. So I'm going to go see a doctor. I'm going to see a doctor tomorrow. But in my mind understands that I'm experiencing being unwell or sick. That is not where the illness is. My illness is not in a body. The illness is in my mind that believes it's a body. So I have one problem. I believe separation happened. One solution, understanding the separation didn't happen. So on that level, um, we can, course students have tended to turn against each other and be like, oh, you broke your leg. Well, sickness is a defense against the truth, and the course can be used as a hammer, and often was, where people thought that when bad things happened, the person was responsible for it. And the course is saying we're responsible for choosing separation. We chose separation, which led to the experience of denial of truth. The truth is, let's call the truth wellness and love, and everything else sickness. Well, that is a mistake in the sense that believing you're a body in a world is sickness, not breaking your leg. So to carve out a piece of the bodily experience and call that sickness, to say, well, I have to go to a doctor because my arm hurts, and that is illness. That's not the illness. The illness is believing you're a body. Cancer is not the illness. The illness is the belief you're a body. So course students love to judge each other, which is so ironic when it's a dream of judgment and we're supposed to judge not. But in this world, everybody loves to tell each other where they went wrong and, elevate themselves at the expense of people around them. And right now, I suppose I'm doing it. I'm elevating myself above people who elevate themselves because I have a visceral, repulsed reaction to people who elevate themselves above others. And I will only ever accept the idea we're all in the same boat here. We have to be in the same boat because we all are living in illusion. How could one illusion be better than another? What has no substance in every part of it. So let's get back to everything has to go. Okay, so as you move along and you see what we just kind of came up to is that I don't really care about anything. All I care about is maintaining my belief that I'm a body. That's what all of this is designed to do. We're pretending to care. On some level, we know that's true, but it's not in our awareness, because if we became aware of it, that would jeopardize the whole illusion, the very thing we're trying to hold on to. But if we can see, egos don't care about anything other than maintaining themselves. So that's why this whole thought system is inherently selfish. We seem to care about each other. People seem to love here, but that love is limited and fragile. And people cross lines and then it's gone. So to move along away from the judgments, ultimately we would have to see that when I say everything has to go, is that it's the idea there is nothing that is thought, said, or done at all in this world, including studying A Course in Miracles, including my beloved teacher, Ken Wapnick, and all my special relationships, all of that, nothing, no part of it has any value. If you value one thing here, then it will jeopardize your learning of the Course. Valuing one single thing, because you've seen nothing as though it were something and sacrificed everything for that. I really hope that that's coming out clear. And just for myself, I want to say, going through these understandings built on study of the Course and Ken Wapnick, I do find myself on a daily basis moving between the bottom rung, I just want a better dream and I don't care about anything, and I hate everybody. I don't even try to be a good ego. I don't even try to be a kind, loving ego. I'm just at the bottom of the rung, and I'm trying in that moment, let's say something hits me wrong and I'm like, I'm swearing at somebody or I'm furious. I didn't get what I wanted. I try as quickly as I can to say, Jesus, I got afraid of love. I got afraid of this whole thing disappearing. I wanted to maintain my individuality and my identity, and I had an ego attack. I'm too afraid of your love, and I can't pick up your hand. That's honest. That is an honest thing to say. I'm angry, which means I am too afraid of your love, and I don't want to pick up your hand. I have been known to roll around in the muck of my ego for very long periods of time. Now I can't not know what I'm doing. So I do know, wow, I must have gotten really afraid because I am really just deep into it and I'm not willing to let go of my judgment. And then I kind of claw my way out of it. And sometimes I see the piece like it's a puzzle, like the pieces of some puzzle coming together. And I feel one with the Holy Spirit thought system. I feel like I have stepped back, that I have looked upon all things not the way I set them up, but the way they really are, myself and everyone around me. And so it moves around. I think that's true for every part of the course. You know, if you're feeling at a particular level and you talk to someone or they say something that's at a different level, then there can be that discordant feeling, like, oh, but I'm here right now and you're there. So if I'm, um, feeling like I'm going to indulge my ego right now and nobody's going to stop me, then I don't want to talk to somebody who's not doing that. To be honest, I've only ever seen Ken Wapnick was the only person I've ever known that represented a pure reflection of the Holy Spirit thought system. I never knew him not to be doing that. I mean, see, that falls under everything must go. That special relationship, my way of seeing him differently. This is a perfect illustration of how nothing we think, say, or do can be valued or held onto. All of it means nothing. All of it. No matter what it is you think you're doing, no matter how high spiritually you think something is happening, none of it matters. There are symbols and there is an experience, and it's the experience we care about, and the symbols all mean nothing. We can give them meaning for as long as we want to. We can bounce around this hologram, bounce around the illusion as long as we want to. But at some point in time, we're going to see it doesn't make us happy. And at some point, rather than moving up and down the ladder, forgiving to destroy by condemning people and then taking Jesus's hand and watching it with him and seeing through Jesus's eyes how he looks upon all things, and in experiencing that, the beauty of that and the peace of that, there will come a time when that shifting and changing ends forever. All of it's part of the dream. All of it. What I'm saying right now is part of the script. There's no piece of what's happening here that has been scripted out. I'm not saying anything that isn't a piece of it. Nobody can. No one can. It's all a piece of it, all of it. You can't take a piece of this illusion and call it true. You can only say, at its highest, it points to truth, or it symbolizes truth. But it's still an illusion. So in the end, who cares? We can do this. We can talk about things that are beyond our awareness. And that will, I do believe it helps us. But see, I did it myself. Everything must go. That belief has to go. And we have to answer the last unanswered question. Do I want to see what I denied because it is the truth? So eventually, all of the shifting, changing, illusory stuff that we're going through here will be answered by the last unanswered question. When I can say, yes, I want to see what I denied because it is the truth, then there will be consistent experience of peace. That is the gateway. And the last step is God's. Once we've gone as far as we can, we've trained and learned as much as we possibly can on this path. The last step is God's. Asking for permanence is saying, I want to see what I denied because it is the truth. And we will only know whether or not we've done that by our experience. Do we feel peaceful all the time? And an interesting part of this is you can never know who has reached that point. It's impossible to know because it's an experience only. And the only thing the world will ever offer us is a bunch of symbols. And I can't be you with you, and you can't be me with me. So whether you experience nothing but peace, or that 5-year-old screaming and kicking in the corner is experiencing nothing but peace, we can't know because the judgments we lay upon everything around us are limited to appearances. That's how we function around here. But we can't know anything. So I decided at one point, I'm just going to believe everybody's in the real world experiencing nothing but peace. And I'm the last one because that got rid of so many judgments in me. The idea that my senses can report back anything and I could accurately judge it. That is laughable. Not that we stop doing it. We can say intellectually, it is ridiculous to think that I can make accurate judgments based upon my perception. Perception is faulty so much of the time, yet we do it because kind of overlearned that habit. So that takes me back to the place that I constantly am trying to go to. No, it doesn't. It's part of the script. There's no such thing as a habit. That's a judgment. All of it's a judgment, all of it. So I'm talking in this way, pleading with myself with this, everything has to go because we must learn to lay all judgment aside. That's the longest piece. That's the 5th stage. That's the longest piece of the development of trust. Sometimes I find myself really, really focused on, you must learn to lay all judgment aside, not some judgment, all of it, all of the judgments. Lay them aside in order to reach permanent peace. And then, of course, I'm thrown back right to the beginning. I go through it again. I could literally go through all of those stages except the 6th stage, which is the permanent stage. I could go through all those stages in, 20 minutes. But that's the nature of the dream. That's the way the script was written. So we can't really hold the script against anybody. It's our dream. If I'm afraid, it's because I wrote a fearful script and I'm afraid accordingly. But we can transcend it. And that's where all of the hope, faith, and belief lies. Because I do believe the Course. I feel like this is probably the longest one I've ever done. I don't know if I'm going to post it because I know it's for me. But just on the off chance that it could possibly help anybody else, to be merciful to ourselves, I want to go back to the idea of mercy. Mercy is perfected in seeing everything as illusory and letting go of all judgment. That is the idea of mercy made real to me, is that there is no form, nothing that can ever keep the peace of God away from me. That is like mercy's essence. It's so beautiful. I could just wrap myself in the idea of that. Nothing and no one has the power to keep the peace of God away from us. We have to give it that power. And I'm never sure how to end these. I always want to end on a positive note. And I suppose that's it. I suppose I'll repeat that one more time. We will learn once and for all nothing, and no one has the power to keep the peace of God from us.